Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I think we reach a point where I just have to come out and say that the Club World Cup has honestly been a whole lot better than I thought it was gonna be. The tournament has shut me up as a hater. Look, I was not alone in my criticism for the tournament before this thing kicked off, and for good reason. But surely I also cannot be alone in being able to say how genuinely surprised I am that this tournament is actually a whole lot of fun. For returning viewers of the channel, you'll remember that not too long ago, I made a video that pretty much labeled the Club World Cup a disaster of a tournament before it even started. And now looking back at it, it definitely was too premature of a thing to say. We do have to be objective though, because there are some things in that video that I still stand behind. Like, I do still think in the long run this tournament is probably going to lead to more long-term injuries for players at that elite level. I saw somewhere that Hakimi has not had a break from football since the 22-23 season, specifically the World Cup, and I can't help but feel like his hamstrings are just bound to fall off the bone at some point soon. And as this upcoming season chugs along, I won't be surprised if we see big injuries happen, and I will stand by that point at the bare minimum. However, this competition, even though it hasn't been perfect or some display of precise, perfect elite football, it's been a good time watching these games and more or less seeing the clubs from different corners of the globe popping out. And in contrast to what I was saying in my hater ass video, having multiple clubs from different confederations has allowed us to see good matchups all around, instead of only seeing, let's say, just one European team against one South American team and it only being in just the final. There's a lot more variety in the matchmaking with this iteration of the tournament, and it's led to more entertaining matches when looking at all the context that we have. In my opinion, there's been a couple of factors that have gone so well during this tournament that have allowed it to shine the way it has been. And real quick, boys, if you're new to the channel, enjoying the video, enjoying the content, don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. We are dropping weekly football videos as well, so make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss an upload. And if you're not new to the channel, boys, welcome back. Glad to have you around for another video. But with that being said, boys, let's get into the reasons that the Club World Cup is going so well that it has shut me up as a hater. So most importantly, what has people actually interested into what is happening at the Club World Cup is the fact that the games have been genuinely entertaining. Like I said earlier, we aren't getting master classes of football with the most precise and perfect actions happening every single match, but for the most part we are actually getting games that are bringing us good football matches. Overall, there's a big blend of different football styles in this tournament, and when each of the best in their collective regions are able to bring that out, it results in matches that we usually don't see. When the tournament first kicked off and Inter Milan hosted Al Ahly to a 0-0 draw, a lot of people were probably ready to confirm the doubts that they already had about this tournament. But then the very next day, we were blessed to be able to see Bayern Munich absolutely obliterate semi-pro side Auckland FC 10-0. PSG continued their reign of terror by killing Atletico Madrid 4-0 in a packed Rose Bowl, and Brazilian side Palmeiras and Botafogo make life difficult for FC Porto and the Sounders respectively. From here, it was clear that this tournament was going to have a lot more in store than what met the eye. For example, Bayern Munich put out a full-strength team against an Auckland side who have players that deadass have actual full-time jobs, and it quickly became a question of just how many they could actually score. At the end of the day, that is somewhat entertaining. Clearly, Bayern were sending the message that these Europeans were here to play and actually go for that massive prize money that comes with progressing further into the tournament. But little did these European teams know that the Latin American clubs were coming in with no fear of playing against them. The Brazilian and Argentinian sides have come into every match with a certain level of passion and willingness to die for the badge that really, I believe, leaves the European clubs shocked. The very next day after those matches, we would see Boca Jr., who has been struggling for a few years due to some internal issues at the club, face off against Benfica, who only just lost Liga Portugal and who made the round of 16 in the Champions League. And to be honest with you, Benfica would get lucky as Boca Juniors were realistically on their way to winning that match until Otamendi goal at the 84th minute salvaged a draw for them. Mind you, we had already seen Palmeiras hold Porto to a draw, so now two major Portuguese clubs were left stumbling against South American clubs who came into the tournament with passion. The fact that these clubs were all bringing their best and actually playing them really is allowing for these games to simply be about who is better on the day, which in my opinion has provided a lot of magic to the results. And as the rounds have gone on, we've seen more and more of these results where the European teams are just being shocked by everyone else. Fluminense would hold Borussia Dortmund to a 0-0 draw. Champions League finalist Inter Milan had to rescue a draw against Monterrey. Real Madrid in their first game under Xabi Alonso also had to rescue a draw against Al Hilal. Messi would put on a masterclass as Inter Miami beat Porto. Flamengo would boss around Chelsea in a 3-1 smackdown. FC Porto would concede 4 against Al Ahly in an 8-goal thriller. And most impressively, the Copa Libertadores champions Botafogo would take down the Champions League winners PSG 1-0. And even in games where these underdog clubs would come up just a little bit short, they would still be able to showcase that talent and really push those bigger teams to the end. We saw this, for example, when Bayern Munich just about got got past Boca Juniors 2-1, and when Inter Milan also beat Urawa Red Diamonds 2-1. Both of these matches really forced the two favorites to try their hardest to beat their opponents, which is something that we don't even always see in their domestic league. The beauty in these types of results is that it has led to these league tables in the group stages that nobody saw coming. And look, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I'm recording this video a couple of days before the group stage even ends because I am getting ready to go on vacation, so I'm getting ahead on a couple of videos. But even as of this recording, we've already seen with Group B how much these European clubs have suffered and have been caught lacking, as despite beating them on the final day, Botafogo edged out Atletico Madrid in the table to book their ticket into the round of 16 and sending Los Colchoneros back home. In Group A, Palmeiras and Inter Miami have come in first and second, something that nobody would have seen coming. In other groups, Flamengo has pretty much all but confirmed that they will be topping their group over Chelsea. Monterrey has a chance to knock Inter Milan out of the tournament, with River having the opportunity to top that group, and then there's small chances that Borussia Dortmund and Real Madrid don't make it out of their groups if results on the final match day don't go their way. These are the least likely, but of course there's a chance, and by the time you guys are watching this, you'll all know, and maybe I look like a fool because maybe all these European giants are just gonna make it anyways, but there's also a very good chance that a lot of them don't. And look, one of my original grievances with this tournament was that I felt that we were either gonna be getting clubs from the rest of the world bringing their A teams, with the Europeans bringing a blend of A and B teams, or half-assed performances from the stars that were playing who didn't really want to be there. But credit to the players, and I'm sure it's partially, monetarily driven, but it seems like the players on the pitch are actually trying, and that has been very refreshing to see. These type of tournaments can easily just become, friendly tournaments, but hey, you know what? The players are actually trying, they're giving it their all, so again, credit to the players for that. And another thing that has been beautiful to see, and which is actually making the tournament just feel so alive, is the fans that have been popping out to support their club. Of course, in the United States, certain teams are always going to be massive draws because really this is our best chance to see the best players in the world without having to travel to Europe. PSG against Athletic Madrid had an attendance of 80,619 people, which is very impressive, but like I said, people were bound to show up for this match. Attendances haven't been perfect, and this was something that I outlined in my original video that would potentially be a problem, but to be honest, I don't think it's been a deterrent to the overall experience of the tournament. Yes, you do have games that do not have a lot of turnout for a variety of reasons, but in my opinion, this issue is being outshined by the supporters of the South American teams. These games haven't been sold out, but literally the Flamenco, Boca, River, Monterrey, Botafogo, Fluminense, and Palmeiras fans have all been showing out and creating amazing atmosphere for their matches. In their match against Bayern, it felt like Boca Juniors was playing a home game at La Bombonera because their fans had the stadium jumping and the atmosphere was electric. Against Inter Miami, who was playing at home, the Palmeiras fans literally made it feel like they were playing in Sao Paulo as their fans just took over the whole stadium. And even then, it's not just the South American teams. In the lead up to Inter Miami against Urawa, we saw how the Urawa fans were in the stadium well before kickoff to welcome their club and to create an atmosphere as close to home as possible. In my original concerns for this tournament, I did figure that low attendance would just make this tournament feel very dead and very dull, but I did not account for these clubs having their most loyal and their most dedicated fans come out to support them during this tournament. It's quickly become quality over quantity when it comes to how these fans are making the stadiums that still have hundreds of empty seats feel like there's not a single person missing in the stadium. It's going to be very fun to see these teams potentially progress further into the competition because the fans are just going to crank up the passion by 1000%, and we'll see how much of the factor that even has against these European teams that might not be used to it. It helps sell the idea that for every team here, for every fan that shows up and cheers their team on, that those wins and that prize money means everything to them. Like I said, to my surprise, this tournament has been very fun. Again, by the time you guys are watching this, maybe I'm wrong, maybe all the European teams qualify and then the knockouts are boring, but that's probably not going to be the case. With how the knockout stages are lining up at the moment, we're bound to have some very fun and some very chaotic matches. Heck, it's already confirmed at the point of me recording this that we have Palmeiras and Botafogo in the round of 16. That's going to be absolutely electric. That means at least one of them is making the quarterfinals. Flamenco is topping their group, so they might have a good path into the quarterfinals as well. My biggest hope for the playoffs is just that these teams keep on playing with that passion and keep on catching these teams by surprise, because if they do, then the sky is the limit. Of course, the European teams, the PSG, Man City, Real Madrid, they're going to continue to be the favorites, but there is just that chance, a slight chance that maybe one of these teams, maybe River, maybe Monterrey, maybe Palmeiras, maybe Botafogo, maybe they could just make it happen. That's all that we could hope for, because if that happens, and credit to the tournament, it would just end up going to prove all of us wrong.